Hey, folks, just a friendly reminder that all shows on the Madness Comic Network are produced by their individual hosts and in no way reflect the opinions of the network as a whole. The statements in the following broadcast are not necessarily the opinions of the Madness Comic Network, its staff, sponsors, or contributors. This show is rated TVMA, as are all of them and all those other letters. Viewer discretion is highly advised, and, just do what Doc says. Read that again. Peace, everybody.
Who am I, you ask? I was created in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by the waste of a dying world. I was bestowed with an insurmountable task: bring peace after decades of death, persecution, and chaos. I am a grandchild of war, destined to help two camps which hate has fueled for far too long. Surprisingly, I am not alone. Have an odd bunch to make the road a little more bearable. Come with me, to bring hope where there was despair, respect where there was resentment, creativity where there was destruction. I am Pinocchio, and this is my story.
Flip City Magazine is just really pulling out all the stops, man. Your guys' production value of this magazine has gone insane. I mean, look at that. I mean, I remember when you guys, it was black and white. Even when it was black and white, I thought your quality was great. But damn, they have just, I mean, they just really stepping it up a notch. Look at this. James Corbett, boys. James Corbett.
Genuinely cutting, but also funny, and obviously just chaotic and very fun.
I love Flip City. It has brought new types of badassery and integrity to the print medium.
I don't know why, but you are watching the Madness Comic Network. Are you mental?
Hey, everybody, Dirk Manning here, the writer and creator of numerous comic books and graphic novels, including Nightmare World, Tales of Mystery, Brave But Not Dead, all kinds of stuff. And I am super excited for you because you are getting to watch right now, right this moment, out of all the things we're going to be doing, you're getting to enjoy and revel in the Madness Comic Network. And that is awesome. Thank you for being here.
Good morning, folks. Good morning, Charles.
Hi. You look like you're a cone, like put in front of an accent or something with that hat.
Yes. I am in full full traffic cone status this morning. So
you need to put lights on you.
The orange beanie has come out.
Yes.
Yeah, and we all know what that means.
That means, oh my God, I thought of 7 jokes and 8 of and the 8th one you beat me up for, and the 7th one you decided around.
When it's orange beanie time, that means Bambi needs to watch that ass out.
It goes out like it starts like the what is it? Fashion model watch. She's like trying to show off, like, look at my backside, boy. And then you're like,
oh, it's
my camera.
It's bow season out here right now, which you can use a crossbow out here in bow season.
Oh.
And I have one of those, but with my arm still not fully recovered, it's hard for me to crank that thing back and load up for.
Why don't you use your teeth? And I'm not being facetious. Or
because have you ever tried to pull a crossbow back?
I would put it in like a mouth guard and then pull it back so that.
Trust me, that you see people see movies and comics and people do that shit. No, you ain't. You ain't doing that.
Well, what about with your feet? Like you lay on your back, and one foot you hold the bow, the other one you just go.
You've got mechanisms you need to flip to lock everything in, and then it
just won't work.
It's a modern crossbow typically is not designed to be able to be done that way.
Speaking of like crossbows, I gave this character an idea, and now the DM hates me for it. Okay.
Oh, Lord.
Imagine you got a ranger, right? But I created for them as a ring of prestidigitation.
Prestidigitation, son.
Yeah. So imagine you and told them to take dual wield, and they have the light crossbow. So imagine you pull out one hand, a crossbow, right? Shoot it. The prestidigitation ring reloads it while they're doing the left hand and firing the other gun, and then the prestidigitation reloads it. So it's kind of like.
You could that could probably rapid fire like that.
How cool would that be? Like just imagine that in a movie or a comic.
That's a pretty slick idea.
Right.
I like that. It's good stuff.
Right. So and the prestidigitation to be a bonus action. So, and the DM was like, what? Oh no. And they had the bonus action thing going on. So it was like, boom, boom, reload, boom, boom, boom. So as they're firing, the other one is up and it's being reloaded. It's just like, right.
That's funny, dude.
Right. How cool would that be? So imagine you do that in your game. They're coming up an archer, and you just see that they're holding up 2 crossbows, and you're like, oh, okay. And then maybe have some of the kids mock them, and all of a sudden they see, and they get off 4 shots, and they're like, ah! How cool would that be?
I'm thinking about maybe later on today, taking a little break for about an hour and seeing if I can get Janice to come out with me with the crossbow and fire a few shots.
Yeah,
help me crank that thing back. It's because it'd be fun.
She might like it.
You got to come down to the house soon, dude. You ain't, you ain't been here since I finished all the stuff I was doing. So.
Oh yeah,
it's pretty neat out here.
Oh, and, Ashley actually tried to bring her bow by.
Okay.
Ashley's dating a real estate attorney.
Fun.
Yeah, I know. It's like, oh, good, she's learning.
Shit.
It's like, let's forget how to gum up more works.
Well, the orange beanie means that deer season is upon us, and so or soon to be upon us.
I thought it was. Oh, gone.
About a month until deer season.
Okay. So I thought it was because it was colder than a nun's blunt on Sunday.
Funny. So what I got going on today, what I wanted to get into was kind of talking about Clip Studio, of course. Okay. I'm almost always in Clip Studio on here.
I love it.
And I'm just, everybody knows I'm sold on it, so I don't need to go on a tear about that yet.
What they should do is
I got to jump in here real quick. I have to jump in here real quick because you said hunting and crossbow and games, and you said all those things in the first 10 minutes of the show. So there's me.
Yes.
My game character in Gone Hunting with my crossbow.
Love it.
Thank you.
So
that's
all
awesome,
you need now is a ring of prestidigitation.
Prestidigitation.
Yes.
That is from a game called Gone Hunting by Chris Brown.
That's cool.
It's a tabletop game. It's a very unique tabletop game, and it's a family-friendly hunting game. You don't kill nothing, but you go out hunting.
That's awesome. Oh,
sounds fun.
Pops, did you get my game I sent you? Did I send that to you?
You may have sent it to me. I'm under the weather right now, so.
Okay, I'm gonna check the
Pops ain't feeling so poppy today.
Oh my gosh, Pops is on Poppy? What?
Yeah. I'm definitely not feeling it today. So
I hope you're doing good. Okay, I've just sent it to you. Check your Facebook, and you can see my role playing game. The people who have been playtesting it have been laughing their heads off, especially some of the things that happen to you, like you have different levels of being shot with a bullet.
Okay. Is this a one-player game, a group game? What is it?
It's a role-playing game. So it's like D&D, except better. It's fun.
Okay, so multiple players. So when you guys are doing some type of stuff, hit me up so I can join you and check it out.
Yeah. Well, what you can do is with your role-playing group, try to run a game. It's now time to play test.
I do not see anything in my Facebook, dude.
It should be in your messenger.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There it is. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna get on with my.
Teach us, please, oh great master.
On with the dealio for the day, yo. So, what I got going on here, and what I was going to talk about a little bit today, is I think I did. I don't know if I did last week, but I know I've been meaning to get in here and talk about how I quote what I call process a script and the way that I break it down. But basically, what I'll do is typically you'll get a script from somebody. It'll be a Google Doc, an RTF, it'll be any number of different, word processing formats. And I'll open that up and go through and take screen caps of that. And then as I'm bouncing back and forth in Clip Studio, because I do all my pencils in Clip Studio. And so like I'll get that script up and I'll copy and I'll sit there and hit return a bunch of times. I'll make sure that I'm only looking at like 1 page worth of script at a time. And then I'll have 24 pages made in the story editor, or however many pages the book calls for. And then I'll go through pasting the script from each, I'll take a screenshot because it's pasting text into Clip Studio is kind of annoying for a number of reasons. Just trust me, you're better off to do a screen cap from the word processing program and then paste that on your pages. So then I never have to leave the program. And it's surprising how much of a difference that makes. It's like the instant you alt tab out of the program, it's like you can start to get distracted by, God knows, Facebook, Instagram, X, whatever. And so I try to structure my workflow in such a way that I can be as hyper focused as possible. So for me, that means, getting the script and what I need for each page on that page. And then from there, once that's all done, then I never have to bounce back and forth. I can just stay in the program and lay out my pages, pencil my pages, and then I'm ready to roll.
Like in Star Wars, stay on target.
Yes, stay on target.
That is just incredible. I believe you can also turn the Word doc into a PDF and then from there import it and just slice it up as well in Clip Studio.
You kind of can, I guess, if you open the PDF like a PSD, you could. Yeah. I just find it easy, super easy for me to. And the key command for this, anybody using Windows 10 or higher, when you're looking at anything on your screen, you want to screen cap it and you want to clip just the section. What I'll do is I'll hold the Windows key, then add to it Shift and S. Windows key Shift S will give you a clipping tool where you can clip whatever piece of the screen you want.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So here I've got script in here. We're looking at 5 panels, and I will oftentimes go through and start laying out my page backwards, meaning I'll read it, look and go, okay, there's five panels here. And then I'll think about what is the last panel of the page. Because typically, this is just kind of a thing I've noticed over the years. Typically, either the first panel or the last panel on any given page is going to be the impact panel for that page. And so when you read through it and you make that decision, you're like, which one of these is the biggest, most important thing on the page? That's going to be my biggest panel.
It's a money shot.
And then you prioritize the panels. There's priority and sequence. So we'll look at panel 5 here. Okay. Large epic shot of marble corridors as they walk with shadows lurking in the corners. So let's see. So let's go ahead and get our rectangle frame tool. And I'll have to look at that, what I've got in that script right there, because that actually doesn't match up with what I know the background is on the previous page.
Yeah.
So, and that's another thing is like, I feel like every step of the way, every player on a team on a comic book has an editorial role.
Oh, interesting.
That's my personal feeling, because
Interesting philosophy.
Because okay, the writer finishes what he's writing, but the writer's got a lot on their mind. They got a lot to think about with what they're writing. You know, they're at that stage of it, and they get that all written. If you're lucky, there might be an editor involved who goes through and edits their stuff and tries to catch any discrepancies or little inconsistencies from one page to another. You know, like if it's important that a character got wounded a certain way, then you need to portray that consistently from there on out. And sometimes writers get caught up in the moment and they lose track of small details. So, you know, there's sometimes you have an editor who gets that before it comes to you. And then a lot of times these days, especially in indie comics, most of the time it goes straight from the writer to the penciler. So the penciler really does need to take an editorial role in there. Not so much in like editing the story, although sometimes we can, depends on the level of editing the story. But they need to take an editorial role of making sure they read fully through that script. What was that?
I don't know.
Making sure they read fully through the script and look for those inconsistencies and things. And then they're definitely going to end up doing it when they start piecing it out to do the pencils. So as you're doing that, like here, if I run across something here, I'm gonna make a note of it here, and I would probably go through and type that back out. That'd be a point maybe to reach out to the writer and see, what's up with that and that sort of thing. But and on this particular book, it's a very collaborative book that I'm working on, where I have a lot of leeway, which is really cool. So I know that I can just mark that off. And the important thing is these two characters are walking and talking together. There's a lot of walking and talking in this book, which is kind of wild sometimes. But man, I wish my chickens would shut up. All right. So anyway, I'm thinking this panel 5 is probably going to be our most important. And when I think of like it described a large epic shot of marble corridors as they walk with shadows lurking in the corners. Yeah. But I know that I have them outside in basically a hellscape. So I'm going to go with this being just a tall, thin panel. And I have an idea for how for what that is going to be. Like, I'm going to do this as a very distant shot where you'll see the characters real small. They'll actually be down in here, and it'll be mostly landscape in the background. So, but then that thought process gets me the 5th panel. So now that starts to allow me to work in a process of elimination across what I have left of the page. So effectively right now, the page is 2 panels. So I know I've got to cut 4 more panels out of this. So let's see. We know panel 4 can work for a character close up. Panel 3, a character close up. Let's see. Panel 2, King steps closer. Okay, so I'm thinking I may exercise a little editorial here and a little of my own creative freedom with this and combine. No, don't do that. Wrong tool. No. Yep. So let's go here, and we'll do that, and then I'll mark this as 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah, real quick, was making an editorial comment. There was somebody who's drawing one of my horror comics, and the script said he drags the body across the construction site, and when he drew it, we had the body in a wheelbarrow, and the guy brought the wheelbarrow across it, and he said, "Yeah, I know it said this in the script, but there'd be a wheelbarrow at a construction site, so why don't you use a wheelbarrow instead?" And I'm like, "Okay, that works." So I can see how sometimes, if the writer can allow the artist some type of freedom to do that, it can be. Imagine if your editor said, "No, every panel the way it is, you put it down the way it is. You are basically an extension of me. You're a brush."
That's how it is with some people. I mean, there are people who I work with who they do not want me to add or subtract or vary anything by 1 ounce. And it's like, okay, I mean, a job's a job. So
does it get irritating?
If that's what I get, then I do the job.
Yeah.
I personally prefer to have, a lot more leeway than that.
Yeah.
But it's okay. It is what it is. And that's kind of one of the big differences, I think, for people. So like for me, the vast majority of my career has not been creator-owned work. I've worked for a lot of different people over the last 30 years. And, with that being the case, it's like for me, I am a career artist, and a career artist's job 99% of the time is to bring someone else's vision to life. And they've probably chosen you because they like the work that you do, and they know that the type of work that you maybe excel at is what will be best suited to bring their idea to life. And typically, it's just it's a thing. It's like, people don't fix their own plumbing because they don't have plumbing skills.
Right.
People don't draw their own stories because they don't have drawing skills. So, most of the time I'm called upon for my skills. Now, imagination and creativity are part of those skills, but a lot of times that's not what you're called on for. And a lot of artists get real bent because, they want to come into projects and be artistes. And whenever you hear me say it that way, that I'm being super snarky because I personally despise artistes.
What about a fartiste?
I've had to manage artists many, many, many times through the years and been project lead on a lot of different stuff. And, when you get these people, it's always disheartening when you get people who come in and they have obviously a lot of talent and maybe even a lot of skill, and then they can't check their damn ego long enough to get the job done.
Or their stupid politics, whether it's one way or the other.
I say the two go hand in hand.
Ugh.
Anybody who's not going to check, one thing or another at the door, and I think that everybody's got lines that they won't go past.
Yeah.
I may disagree with X, Y, or Z in a given story, but it's not my job to critique it. It's my job to draw the damn thing.
Yeah.
And, but there are things that are red lines for me that I won't go past. So you have to know those things for yourself.
Yeah.
And, personally, I think that, that most of us try to, we try to be professionals and we try to do the job. So anyway, I'm getting way off topic here. In this case, I'm going to combine these two panels together, panels 1 and 2, because I think it'll just read much better to have the two characters in the same shot together before we move on. So we'll have them together in the first panel, and then we'll have them together in the last panel, and then the two panels in between can be close-ups. And I think, now that I think about that, I'm going to delete what I had started with. And go back, and so it'll be a nice opportunity to show the way the rectangle frame tool or the polyframe tools work in Clip Studio. These are one of the this particular tool set, which there are numerous tools for this, but this particular tool is one of the things that I feel like sets Clip Studio apart from Photoshop. Because with this, okay, you decide. I tend to run my borders. It'll say brush size in this tool. Well, the brush size, that's the thickness that's going to draw the border of your panel at. So I'll do I'll give a value of 40 typically. That's typically what I do most of my borders at. And then when you draw, so like if I wanted a circular panel for some reason, I draw that out there, and there you see it. So I'm going to go back here and really dig in and show where I'm headed with this. So I will go ahead and just inside my live area guide here, draw one big panel. Now, Clip Studio has context sensitive tools. So then if I click on this layer that made, you'll see that this little list of tools here comes up.
Yeah.
What I want to show real quick about this, though, and what makes this so unique is that I just saw a damn mouse run across the shop. I have to work on that.
So, you need to. That's the advantage of cats.
Well, the shop cat we had ran away.
That's because you scared it.
Well.
But in all seriousness, like our cats, they gave us a present of a mice family, and they were all dead, literally laid in a row. I'm like, damn, thank you, buddy.
Yeah, cats definitely have the use for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so when you draw that out, and I'll undo that and do it again just so that I am back on track.
Okay.
I got distracted by the mouse, so. I click,
mouse, huh?
And then I'll draw that shape out. And when it does that, you'll see that it creates what is effectively just a folder. It labels them specifically as frame folders in Clip Studio. But it creates a folder, and inside it puts an empty layer, and then it puts a fill layer.
Oh, cool.
So then what that does is, like, if I have stuff drawn in here, or like I have this in here right now, well, that's a solid in there that's going to hide it. So from there, since I'm working on my layout, I will click on that frame folder, and then here in my context sensitive tools, one of them is called Cut Border. And with that, we can click and drag. And this is what's really neat, is when we do this, it will separate and create a second panel folder.
Now it looks like an image comic.
Yeah, 2 panels on the page. Now from here, I know I want 2 more panels, and I'm just going to come down and grab my rectangle frame, and I'm just going to drop 2 of these out here like this. But then once they're dropped out here, you'll see these are floating on top. Once they're dropped down here, we can really tweak that layout as much as we want just by pulling with the object tool, pulling and resizing, the actual panel.
I like how they look like Band-Aids on a giant cut.
You are so odd. So, and I've, as the book progresses, I'm starting to use more off-kilter panels just because of how that kind of plays to the feel of the story.
Would that be Dutch angles?
Dutch angle is a very specific thing in filmmaking.
Yes. but could it be interpreted as Dutch angles?
I think you possibly could. All right.
Because what's fascinating just with watching the layout is there seems to be a visceral rage going on, or you know, there's definitely a problem, and the problem is bad.
Oh yeah, well, and it's the characters are kind of reaching this kind of topsy-turvy sort of state. Now, excuse me, the next thing that I like to do with these is I will click on the top one, hold shift and click on the bottom one so it grabs all of them, and then I'll right click and hit where it says create folder and insert layer, and that'll make a folder that puts all of those in it. Now, by having those all in a folder, like if I wanted to turn them non-photo blue, I can just click there. It's going to do it to all of them. Anything I do to the folder ripples downstream to what's inside of it. So then I'll take that folder and I'll set its blend mode. Typically, I'll set that to multiply. So now you can see my page guides and things showing back through it. So a lot of times, like, even though I'll ink pages traditionally, which I'll show that sometime in the future, because I'm operating one-handed, I go ahead and do my borders, and there anything that I need rulers or two-handed tools for, I go ahead and do digitally, and then I print that all out and bring it over to my drawing board where I finish out the inks.
So you would do the buildings and industrials. 3D, like vehicles, lampposts, things like that.
Not necessarily 3D, but
no, I'm not saying 3D, but you would use these tools to help render it, or you render it. Like, why would you render your lamppost, cars, and what in here?
Well, like here let me show you what I'm talking about.
To distract.
So, like, if let me throw
so many questions.
A gray layer on here. And we'll just ignore the script for a minute. Imagine that I'm wanting to put a cityscape in this first panel. Let's say that this is an establishing scene of a cityscape. Okay, so I've got a drawing layer here. I'm going to go ahead and set it to non-photo blue and use a relatively small pencil. And then from here, I would probably start out thinking about the general layout that I would want for it. So, like, let's say I was doing something, you know, kind of an old Todd McFarlane type thing where we're looking across rooftops on like a Spider-Man comic or something. I'll go through here and I'm not even paying attention to perspective yet. You know, I'll go through here and just make a bunch of shapes that are generally just corners, and give myself just a very rough thumbnail of something like this. Okay, then let's do that. And we're gonna
That's so cool.
do that. And
I thought of like a creepy story just now, just looking at that panel.
So here we've got all that stuff drawn in. So this is where I'll do this in penciling, and then in this case I would probably go ahead and ink a lot of this here, since I'm not really at a point yet where I can use two-handed tools yet, like holding rulers down, things like that. So I would take the perspective ruler, which is real special. This guy right here, perspective ruler. And I'd kind of look at what I have doodled in here and say, well, this looks like, you know, it's kind of following a line over there. And then this, I'm going to kind of split the difference on that.
Oh, yeah. Point perspective.
So, well, there's going to be more. So now, as soon as you drop that down, it tries to intimate a horizon line and a vertical line. And I don't want either of those active. So I'll click on these little dots right here to turn those off. So right now, these are all that's active. If you click on the handle, you can drag that, and you'll see where it goes. And then I could turn on display of grids. And, you know, you can see those different grids. But I find the grids are a little distracting. So now I've got a couple of perspective lines in there, but I want more. I want to do probably a 3-point perspective with this.
Okay.
So
real quick, Les, is this a case of you giving your perspective on how to do art?
Anyway,
Here, let me handle that for you.
Once you've got once you've got a perspective tool drawn out there, if you want to alter where that vanishing point goes, you can just click on it and drag it. So that's super, super duper handy.
Oh my God.
That will apply to what I'm about to do too. So now we're going to open get the perspective ruler again. This time I'm going to look at what's going across. I'm going to kind of follow that. And I think down here I want this to go, yeah, right like that. Okay. And now if I zoom out real far, you'll see that now we have another vanishing point, and that's for that second point of perspective.
Okay. That would, for now, a 2-point perspective, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
But wait, there's more.
Woo-hoo! More.
So, I mean, you can totally work from this and use the vertical, just the straight up and down guide, and be fine. I personally think that looks too mechanical. That's why I always turn those off, and I will draw in all my perspectives. No. Like that vertical line is still just a perspective line. It's just the vanishing point is so far away that it seems straight. Yeah. So what I'll do is now, see, I'm wanting this where we're up high, so we'd be kind of looking down. That means the vanishing point's going to be down in here somewhere. So, and I'll oftentimes look for an intersection between the lines I've created when I go to do my vertical. So I'm going to draw a line right there.
Now, with these lines, do they help guide the pen? Is it like a lock line, so that that's like,
yes, it's just like guides in Photoshop.
Okay, because sometimes there are artists who have shaky hands or Parkinson's or little things that they type of tenacity is fluctuating, but because of the lock guides, they're still able to prove basically architectural accurate type drawings, which is what you want when you do these things.
Well, so here I've got those guides drawn in, and we can turn those on and off by right clicking right here. And then with those, we can turn each of those off or on. So, because sometimes you get so many of these out here that they start to conflict with each other and the program doesn't quite know which one you're wanting to follow. So it's real handy. You like you see, I don't know if you can see it real well in the stream, how that just turned green.
Yeah.
If it's green, that means you've turned it off. If it's purple, then it's on.
Woo.
So, and then from there now, I started with my little rough, and now I'll go back through
Joker colors.
If in whatever tool we're using, if it has snapping turned on, right down here, enable snapping, you'll see, like, I could just start going generally in the direction of those guides. What's funny for me, something that I used to do back in the day, long time ago, is I would have a giant sheet of paper where I had these basically just big it looked like big starbursts like this.
Yeah.
I'd have like one, probably usually 3 or 4 of these pieces of paper where I had drawn these big starbursts out, real crisp in ink, real methodical. And I would, the exact same thing we're doing here, I would do on a light box.
Yeah.
I would lay one of those down and then sight my art up with where those lines went for that perspective. Then I'd lay the next one down. So I would end up having these things I could move around underneath my art that light was showing through that would give me these so I could draw against them.
Now, I understand the Joe Kubert design actually from one of the classes to help train the hypertenacity of variants with your hand is you just draw straight lines again and again and again and again and again and again. And after, several thousands of these, even though it may be boring as hell, all of a sudden your lines are practically perfectly straight without any ruler and perfectly spaced, which is just awe-inspiring.
When I used to run the airbrush shops, new artists, guys who had some art skill would come in and want to work, but they'd need to be trained in airbrushing. And a lot of them would quit during the training because I would have them put a board up on an easel, just like a little foam core board.
Yeah.
But okay, draw lines.
Yeah.
And what? And I would show them, draw, these quick lines. And if I pick up an airbrush, even now, I'll still, if I'm painting with the airbrush, I can draw lines with that thing that are damn near ruler straight most of the time, just because, you've trained that movement. Repetition will do it.
Yeah.
Anyway, so back to what I'm doing here.
Yeah.
Now, let's see. So there's what it looks like if I turn the blue off. I have that. I really like working that way. It's kind of an automated non-photo blue color that is put into Clip Studio. Although you can change it if you want. I mean, we could change that to a red or whatever. There you see that. But I'll just undo that. Set it back. So then from there, I've got all that stuff drawn in. Well, now if I start drawing this way, you'll see that it's going to follow those verticals. Yes. And it's going to follow each of these and try to interpret which way I want to go. So normally I wouldn't even draw that many lines like that. I just did it for the sake of showing it here.
Okay. So
see how far I can undo back. There we go. Woo-hoo. So really, I'll come in here with a slightly bigger brush now or pencil and just start kind of blocking in shapes here, because as I draw, I know these are going to lock on. So then I can just sort of work these things out and then start to let the imagination play a little bit. So like imagine there's a walkway here of some sort, and then every once in a while, like right here, if this were a walkway, I might want to draw something with a curve there. And I have these particular commands set up. You could turn off enable snapping in the tool, but I just turn off snap to ruler and snap to special. And that'll let me go back and just, draw little shapes in. Now turn those back on, and I'm going to be right back on it.
Wow.
So then let's pull this over, and then we might want to add. See here, I'm just spitballing and kind of letting the environment draw me in a little bit, which is always fun. Now, let's say I wanted to put two railings here. Well, I know those are going to be the same height, so I'm going to draw a line from that one over to this one, so I know right where it was at. So now those are going to be consistent. So this stuff, dealing with perspective, I mean, most of the stuff that you'll do in here like this, it's using the traditional techniques and methodologies of perspective drawing. You just happen to have these handy tools to make it a little bit easier.
That's amazing.
So let's something I would do right here maybe is let's say we're looking past a building, something up real close. And that's really going to give us a lot of a feeling of the scope of the scene. So that maybe we'll build that out a little bit more.
See, what's different is I probably would have collaged the background with different city photographs, or go out and do reference photos since I'm in a major metropolitan, and then do a collage, or maybe even warp it in Photoshop, and then I can have a fisheye perspective and then put it in and then use that as a rotoscoping. But having this too, the architectural tools, is just phenomenal.
So like here, I just kind of went down this, putting these lines in that are going to guide, like these will probably guide me later for doing, say, bricks. So that's where a lot of the excessive lines can be super handy.
Yeah.
And let's say we want another walkway that's on the same floor as this. We would draw on down here and up. And then we know, let's say we'll put right here. So here's the bottom of this. Here's here was the top of that walkway.
I had an interesting discussion yesterday with people when it comes to comic books about how to understand it. And I said, think about what you did 3 days ago. Think about 2 hours of your time. Like, okay, think about pieces of the conversation. Okay. And you notice that they're basically just short vignettes or short videos. And if you look at the comic book, they just have short snapshot moments of time, but are in a sequential experience. And it's very similar to how our memory works, which I have postulated. And I think that's why reading a comic book is so successful and so easy, because in essence, it's very similar to how our memories are patterned. What is your thought on that?
I have contended for a very long time, most of my life, that I believe comics to be one of the highest forms of art.
Oh, yeah.
Because it returns us to the use of visual symbols that aren't necessarily attached. They're not hard-coded to a thing. So like if I write the word dog, okay, that's a dog. Now, everybody might have different ideas of dog, but you're all going to say a dog. But if I doodle out a little four-legged shape, that could be any four-legged shape. It could be any four-legged creature. And so on the one hand, that's less specific. But on the other hand, if I draw a sequence of that thing doing a thing, then whatever you pictured that was, or whatever, there's room for interpretation in there, which is one of the things that I think is neat. Then there's a lot I can get into. It's a big rabbit hole to go down. It's going to pull me way off track here.
That's for another show.
For getting into that, I say go read Comics and Sequential Art from Will Eisner.
Oh,
read it about 10 times back to back, and then read Understanding Comics from Scott McCloud.
Right,
because these are the books that'll break it down. But now
I also love Frame Perspective and Frame Perspective 2. Continue.
Getting back to what we're doing here, and I'm going to draw through these panels here with some lines. Let's say that right here is the bottom of this building. Okay. So then that means I'm going to have the bottom go over here as well. Okay. And then let's do a walkway right here.
I also enjoy how comics can be a communal object. For example, I may come up with a story. You come up with the pencils. If somebody else inks it, they ink it, or you ink it. Somebody else colors it, then somebody else may letter it. And it's just amazing how you could have 5 or 6 people per page, and it could be very successful. And at the same time, you could have a crummy script, but then great pencils. But if you have crummy inking, it can destroy everything. But you can have crummy pencils and then great inking. Then crummy color can destroy all of it. And then if you have really good colors and inks and everything else, you can have a beautiful page. And my philosophy is to have the writing stand on its own so you don't need the pictures, and have the pictures stand on its own so you don't need the writing. And when they're merged together, it's a masterpiece of art.
I can see that. I mean, I work as, you know, I work as a part of teams a lot, which is fine. I actually prefer it when I work alone. I really, really prefer it.
I've noticed.
It's not that I can't work with people. I can work with people just fine. I prefer to be left alone to do what I've got to do. And so here I'm wanting to, just for the sake of example, I'm going to draw a domed structure on top of this building. You see that I started out with this cube right here. Okay. So there's certain little tricks. And again, I'm drawing through so that I can, you know, visualize the full form. There's certain little tricks that I personally employ quite often. Now, go in here and I'm going to go ahead and erase some of that stuff out so that this is more solid sitting there. And then let's hide these for a moment. Okay. And then I'm going to take a little smaller pencil. And if I click right here, hold my shift key and then click on the other corner, you'll see I get a line that bisects that. And I'm going to do the same thing here. That's going to give me an X. Then here, I'm going to put X's across each of the sides of this.
It's the X-Men mansion.
So see how that works? And then when I turn these back on, if I follow from the center point of that, that's going to give me center points. That's going to show me where the center points are everywhere. See how when I drew from that, it matched exactly where that was?
Right.
So this is one of those little tricksy do sort of things. So I get these, you know, looks like the inside of the panels on a TIE fighter.
Yes.
So
I am not your father, Les.
So what I find is that if I then follow creating curves that,
oh my God,
see how this works?
Yeah. What the hell?
I mean, like if I follow those and fit a circle into those, I mean, first off, those lines are going to help guide my circle.
Right.
Okay. And as they guide that circle, they're going to be pretty even. And I could actually segment that further and literally draw the circle with just by connecting the dots as I go.
Oh my God.
You could literally segment that more and then just connect the dots.
This is like one of the biggest secrets being revealed right now.
So then once I've got these circles and things in here, if you look right here, if I want to dome this off.
Oh no.
Then I just follow.
No way.
From that curve down to that curve. Okay, see that?
Oh my God.
And then turn those back on. Let's make a little harder line here.
That's nuts.
There we go. Boom. Okay, where would we like to put a door in this? Let's say we're going to put a door right here, and it's going to be an arched door. Okay, so so from here, let's go get my little one again. If I click this point, hold shift and click here, that's going to make X's over the lines that I had there.
Wow.
And then if I draw straight up from there, see those? Okay. Now from there, if I follow, see, I've got the little little
No
V shape
way.
was made there. So now I just follow that,
That's
and
nuts.
I get an arch that's in perfect perspective.
And you didn't need a ruler.
Well, I did. I used the perspective rulers. I'm drawing perspective out, and then I'm bisecting things over and over, and then creating curves along the guides.
That's nuts.
Yeah, that's how you draw cars. I mean, like, God knows I did enough of it on Auto Clash.
I know. Oh,
So-
and if you can get those trophies, that'd be great, because I'm ready to print a professional copy.
Yeah, we'll talk about that after I get off here. So I need to hit you up on that.
All
So
right.
then, like right here, let's say, okay, this we're gonna kind of
Yeah,
round
watching
that off, and
With
then
all the X's is very exciting to see it happen.
I challenge you one time to resist. So
People told me I'm like Hecklefish from Y-Files.
you remind me of this one cat character from the Hanna-Barbera stuff back in the 60s.
Oh no, Top Cat.
I think so, yeah.
Well, whoa, hold on. I'll have to think of how to do that voice, and I'll do that voice for a while for a show.
You know, it's more like this type. You know?
Wow.
So then once you peel all those out, I mean, you're pretty much just drawing a geodesic dome at that point.
Yeah.
So there you go. There's a domed add-on to the building.
I gotta look at the comments just to see what they are.
Yeah, please do that. Please do that.
Okay, all right. Let's go. Postmasterden, hello. Charles, Facebook. Oh, wow. Thank you, Postmasterden. You want people to follow me. Okay. All right. Glenn Fanning, thank you. You're awesome too, Trails. That's why I do it by myself. Postmasterden, YouTube pal. Everyone's saying hello to each other. So nice. And Lovey says, hail to the chat. Well, we
Howdy, y'all.
Your comments and all your fun stuff, and you mean a lot to us in all seriousness. By the way, Les,
Yeah,
guess what?
it's time.
We're free to go. Pops,
Cool.
go to commercial now. Commercial. I'm summoning commercial.
How do you end this thing? How do you put where's the brakes on this bus? I forgot.
Jazz
how to drive.
hands. Jazz hands are dirty.